Hi folks, this is all the fruit, and here I have Lindera benzoin, the Spicebush or wild allspice. When something is called Spicebush, you know that it's gonna get interesting. This is a plant of eastern North America, from Ontario and Maine to the north, to Texas and Florida in the south. And it was actually quite an important plant for early settlers. I mean, those were people mostly coming from Europe, and yeah, they had to somehow make a living in the woodlands of the eastern US. And yeah, of course they lacked familiar spices, but first of all they had to find some lands to farm. And this stuff was actually quite an interesting indicator for good farming land. It grows on areas with exposed limestone, and areas with exposed limestone are usually not the best land for farming. The land is dry and yeah, usually not too fertile. But where this stuff grows, on exposed limestone, the area is still good for farming despite the exposed limestone zone. Early settlers would search for this stuff in limestone areas, and wherever it grew, they would cut down the forest and make a farm. And yes, you can also use it as allspice. You can use it for a lot of different purposes. You can make the young twigs, leaves and fruit into tea. You can make an oil from the fruit, which can be used kind of like an allspice oil. Or you can just take the fruit, dry it. You have a substitute for allspice. Very good, because most of those settlers were pretty poor, and trading posts were few and far between, and stuff was quite expensive. Let's try this allspice substitute. It is spicy. It is not unpleasant, yeah. Well, it's too unpleasant to eat it out of hand, just as a fruit, as a small berry. It's too spicy for it, and also quite soapy. But nah, actually it's not too pleasant to eat it out of hand. Don't eat it out of hand. But I guess when you dry it and ground it up and use a little bit in your food, yeah, most spices taste horrible when you eat them pure. Quite interesting, quite an interesting spicy little plant. So folks, this was the Spicebush or wild allspice, an important indicator and spice plant for the early North American settlers. It also has a lot of medicinal properties for the Native Americans and for the early settlers, but I am not gonna dwell on those. Stay tuned for a lot more fruit videos from interesting North American plants, and don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe.